When the sunlight hit him, a boy of 12 years could be seen, wearing the academy uniform. His hair was black with an emo-style cut and he wore glasses that covered his blue eyes. This young man kept looking at the Shinigami with some annoyance. "I am Yurei Ishida, the last of the Quincy," said the boy, expecting a reaction from the young people. While Rukia was serious, knowing beforehand about the massacre of the Quincy organized by the Shinigami, Gohan on the other hand was just thoughtful and said, "Hey Rukia, black hair, emo appearance, and also the last of his kind. Does he not seem familiar from somewhere?" asked Gohan, breaking the tense atmosphere, and making the small girl think too. "Ah, you are right. Where did I read something like that before?" wondered Rukia, taking the same thoughtful pose as her future boyfriend. "Oh no. They are going to compare me to that vengeful emo. This is not funny," thought the Quincy, nervous about being compared to a manga character. To exemplify the situation, meanwhile with the Arankar girls, the three companions of Harem asked to be taken all over the city by Harem and Tatsuki. Upon learning that they still did not know the place, well, the two decided to take them to other locations, without knowing that in reality they were doing this to fulfill a favor for Rukia. They all had fun on the outing, and along the way Gohan's friends saw Goku and Rangaku pass by on their date. This surprised Tatsuki, and made Harem very happy. "How did this happen? I never thought Goku-sensei would be on a date," said an impressed Tatsuki. "Well, Urahara-san and I helped him," said the happy girl, watching as the lieutenant held the son's arm. "I wish I could do the same with Gohan," said both without realizing it, putting on surprised faces. While this strange scene was happening, the Arankar watched everything with confusion at this behavior, but said nothing and turned to look at where Goku was. Although when they diverted their gaze slightly, they were left with anime-style sweat drops upon seeing Harem and Yuruchi following them. "Definitely Lady Harem is falling in love with Mr. Goku," said Sung's son. "And how do you know that?" asked her companions. "According to this book on human relationships, when a female follows a male without him noticing it is a sign of falling in love," said the snake girl, showing that strange book. While they continued with their own business, Tatsuki and Harem had a very agitated conversation. "Tatsuki, are you feeling well? It is not like you to be in love," said a nervous Harem, knowing that her friend was too tough to be interested in a boy. "Of course I feel fine. It is just that," said the black-haired girl nervously. "He helped fill the void that Ichigo left in our lives. I understand how you feel. That is why I feel the same as you," said the orange-haired girl. "Really? You like him too?" asked Tatsuki. "Yes, I could say that after seeing him fight against the great fisherman. I knew he is just like Ichigo. He seeks to protect his loved ones. Besides, his innocent and kind character attracts me," said the orange-haired girl. "But what will we do? We like the same person. How will we manage this?" asked the black-haired girl, leaving her best friend to think. "And why do you not do that thing called sharing? From what I understand, Miss Rangaku and Yuruchi reached that agreement," said Sung's son, butting into the conversation. "Do you think he would accept us? What if he does not like us? From what that brat told me, you are as important to him as Rukia is, and he only seeks to make you happy," said Apache. "Really?" asked both, not knowing that Gohan thought that of them. "Yes, I am sure. Now you only need to speak with Rukia when she finishes her date with Gohan, and reach an agreement to share him," said Mila Rose, without realizing she was sharing information that should not be told. "Sure, talk with Rukia when." "What?" said a super angry Tatsuki and a jealous Harem. I think you should not have told them that. I am sure Rukia asked us to keep it secret," said Sung's son, putting her foot in it even more. "Explain yourself, snake girl," demanded Tatsuki, shaking the Arankar until she had spirals in her eyes. "Well, that midget asked us to distract you so you would not find out while she went out with Gohan. Although I still do not understand why she wanted those things called mints," said Apache, finishing it off, and leaving a very red Harem who imagined what her friend would do, and a very angry Tatsuki who released a murderous aura. "Harem, get on my back. Now," said the black-haired girl, scaring her friend, who quickly obeyed the order. Tatsuki made sure no one saw her while white marks covered her legs, and in less than 1 second she shot off at full speed using her new powers, and Yuruchi's Shunpo, leaving the Arankar thinking, "What do you think if we tell the midget that Yuruchi-san passed by here and told them about the date?" asked Apache to shift the blame to someone else. "I agree," said Mila Rose and Sung's son, supporting the idea. With Goku and Rangaku, the lieutenant and the son had never had so much fun in their lives. They went to the restaurant that served the best food to both their tastes, to stores where Goku stayed with Rangaku the whole time, even when she asked which outfit suited her best, and she bought some white clothing for the future. And lastly, before going to a plaza to rest, they saw a movie that by mistake they ended up watching a horror movie, where a journalist got trapped in a mental asylum, and all the lunatics escaped. The ending confused them, but neither denied the fact that they were terrified, so they were hugging for a large part of the movie. The lieutenant told herself that she would have nightmares about a fat cannibal man, while Goku was terrified of a sinister doctor who, besides giant scissors, had an equally giant syringe. Author note: if you guess which video game that movie references, maybe I will reveal the name of one of the girls in the future. Both, already recovered from the shock of that movie, were in the park on a small bridge, while from afar they were observed by the blonde Arankar Harabel and the purple-haired Yoruichi, who had unfriendly faces. Yes, my date will be next week, but I do not want you getting ahead of me, said Yoruichi, very jealous. Why do I feel like cutting that Shinigami in two? Asked Harabel, confused, because she liked the lieutenant, but seeing her so close to Goku made her angry, and she did not know why. That is called jealousy. When we women like a man, and see him with another, it makes us angry, said the former captain, clearing up the doubts of the blonde. I understand, said Harabel, but in her mind a thought was running. Then Sung Sun was right. I truly am in love. I do not know much yet, but from what I understand it is something beautiful, thought the Vosto Lord, blushing, imagining herself taking the lieutenant's place. While this was happening, Rangaku was only thinking about one thing, and that was clarifying her feelings by asking the sun a question. Goku, I want to know something, said the lieutenant, somewhat blushing. Yes, of course. Tell me, Rangaku, said the sun with a smile. What do you think about me? Was the question of the orange-haired girl, while Goku took a thoughtful pose. Well, since I met you I have liked you very much, and I like your way of being, said Goku with a slight blush that surprised the lieutenant, but made her happy. Really? Asked her enthusiastically. Of course. You are a great girl. Friendly. Carefree. A good cook. Always attentive to others. That is the person I promise to protect. Those last words left the lieutenant with her heart beating very fast. This man who in just weeks made her feel loved was confessing in his way that he loved her. This last conclusion came to her upon seeing the Saiyan's blush. Goku, I like you, but do I like you too? Asked Rangaku, expecting his response. Of course. You are a great girl. Although I also feel the same about Yoruichi, said the sun, scratching his head. That does not matter. I already fixed that problem with her. But I want to do this first, said the lieutenant. In less than a second she closed her eyes and put her lips very close to the Saiyan, who by instinct followed the current, ending with both adults kissing lovingly, while a jealous Harabel watched the whole scene, while an unconscious and blushing Yoruichi was on the ground babbling the same word over and over. He likes me. He likes me, repeated the Catwoman, while her companion had a sweat drop at that reaction. And returning to Gohan and Rukia, Sasuke. No, that is not him either. Gray. Neither. He has black hair but is not a vengeful emo. They kept saying, the couple, trying to remember who the Quincy looked like. The boy had a vein in his head, because these Shinigami were not taking him seriously. Shut up already and pay attention to me, said Urayu, who was tired of so much stupidity. With those words both Rukia and the Saiyan left their thoughts, and looked at the serious Quincy. For some time I felt the presence of several Shinigami in the academy. It took me a while, but I managed to discover that you were one of those presences, although a few days ago more arrived, said Ishida, remembering how he felt hollow and Shinigami powers in the same place. That is none of your business. Now tell us what you want. Do you want revenge for what happened years ago? Asked Rukia, knowing that the Soul Society did many horrible things to maintain the order of things, and the massacre of the Quincy was one of them. The truth is no. I cannot blame the current Shinigami for what happened so many years ago, but I came for another thing, answered Urayu, taking out a kind of white collar which Rukia tensed upon knowing what it was. What is that? Asked Gohan, and before his companion could answer, the Quincy interrupted him. This serves as bait. When destroyed it will attract many hollows. I will demonstrate the power of the Quincy, eliminating more than you, said Ishida, breaking the collar, which after becoming particles in the sky hundreds of Gargantus opened, letting out thousands of hollows. Author note: I think that was Urayu's reason for doing that. The truth is I do not remember. Let the game begin, said Urayu, who with a cross in his hand created a bow of spiritual energy that shot blue Ryatsu arrows. He just ruined my date and my first kiss. When this is over, Quincy, I swear you will pay, thought an angry Rukia while consuming a soul candy, leaving her Jjigae aside and passing to her Shinigami form. I do not know why I feel pity for Urayu. Maybe it is because of the fact that he angered Rukia, thought Gohan while turning off his camouflage and thinking about how dangerous the small Shinigami was when she got angry, or they spoke very badly of her drawings. In another part of the city, the academy, the young Chad was walking peacefully, when he noticed that in the sky hundreds of hollows began to appear, which put him on alert. But a scream coming from the academy court pulled him from his thoughts, and he went to investigate, finding himself with the same hollow that tormented the soul of that boy inside the bird. But now, this one was trying to kill a black-haired girl. Quickly the young man's memory recalled that this girl was the younger sister of his deceased friend Ichigo. Chad, knowing how important the orange-haired boy's sisters were, quickly went against the hollow, delivering a blow that made it recoil. "Run! I will handle this," said the brown-haired boy with a serious face, while the girl quickly left the place. "We meet again, damn human. I am still furious because you took that boy from me. I enjoyed tormenting him, and you took that pleasure from me. Now you will die for interfering again. I will not let more people suffer because of you. I will stop you here and now," said Chad, putting on the turtle stance taught by Goku. "I still do not control my spiritual power well. I just hope that with ki I can defeat him," thought the brown-haired boy, who launched himself to attack the malignant hollow. With Goku and the girls, Rangaku kept kissing the Saiyan lovingly. She loved that sensation, but to her misfortune, she saw how the Gargantus opened in the sky, causing her date to end very soon. "Why are there so many hollows?" asked Goku, seriously not understanding. "I do not know, but for some reason I feel the impulse to go to a specific place," said Harem, revealing herself before everyone. "Hey, but what are you doing here?" asked Rangaku, somewhat annoyed, because she suspected they had followed her all day. "That does not matter. Someone activated a bait that attracts hollows here. Our best option is to defeat as many as we can until the bait stops taking effect," said Yoruichi, who recomposed herself after knowing the Saiyan liked her. "They were following us. I should be angry with them, but now I am more annoyed by the idiot who used that bait. Now my date is over. I hope I do not cross paths with the responsible for this, because if not he will pay," thought Rangaku with many veins in her head while taking a soul candy to become a Shinigami, while Goku changed clothes. This face should give you an idea of what she plots against Uriu. When she knows he was at fault, the best will be to split up. The lieutenant and I will be one team. "Goku, you and Harem go to the opposite side from ours," said Yoruichi, giving the blonde a wink as a signal that she put them together so she could clarify her feelings for the Saiyan. "Alright, let's go," said Goku, taking the blonde's arm and leaving far from there, making Matsumoto very jealous. "Whoa, come on. We already know he likes us. Now he has to clarify things with her," said Yoruichi. "I know. But now we will have to share him among the three," said Rangaku jealously. "Worse would be sharing him among 5. That would indeed be difficult to accept," said Yoruichi, who for some reason regretted saying that, as if unconsciously she had spoken the future. With Tatsuki and Orihime, Tatsuki stopped running when she noticed the Gargantus, and this put her on alert. "Orihime, get ready. I feel this is going to get difficult," said the black-haired girl, ready for battle. At Urahara's shop, the hollows kept spreading throughout the city. But this did not seem to matter to a former captain of the Soul Society, who was busy finishing a very strange device that not even his assistant knew what it was for. "Urahara, are you not worried about those hollows out there?" asked Tessai. "The truth is no. Those kids we trained are capable enough to protect the city without me needing to interfere," said the former captain, finishing adjusting a strange machine. "And what does that device do?" asked Tessai. "If my calculations are correct, and they are, probably a powerful hollow will arrive soon, and that will put the Soul Society on alert. This machine serves to avoid detection. It could be said that they will not know anything for 6 months." "I see. You want to protect the identity of those guys, and prevent the Suriti from finding out that they gave them their powers," said the assistant with a smile. "Yes, I would like to hide them longer, but unless I have someone inside the Soul Society it is not possible," said Urahara, somewhat annoyed. None of those present noticed that someone from the shadows heard the conversation, and saw this as an opportunity to gain more time too. "So more time. Do not worry, I will take care of that so they do not know anything for 1 year. That will give me time to finish my secret weapon," thought the mysterious subject, who left the place undetected to continue with his plans. Meanwhile, with Tatsuki and Orihime, both girls in less than a minute were surrounded by hollows. Orihime did not know what to do because fighting was not her thing, but her best friend had a wild smile, excited to fight. While Mr. Goku's taste for fighting is contagious, now I will demonstrate the fruits of their training, and Yoruichi-sensei's, thought the black-haired girl while beginning to release spiritual pressure, while her arms and legs lit up more until creating a burst of light that blinded everyone. When the light dissipated, one could see a Tatsuki who was equipped with 2 bracelets that reached her hands. These had the shape of 2 wolf heads, and were of a black color with the same white marks of her arms, while her legs had boots with beast paw shapes with the same color pattern as her bracelets. Author note: these weapons of Tatsuki are the Beowulf from Devil May Cry 3. I gave them to her because in canon she was always shown as someone very adept in martial arts, and I thought that a weapon like this would be ideal for her. Orihime was very surprised because it was the first time she saw those weapons on Tatsuki. This made her feel useless. All her friends knew how to fight, but she did not. She wanted to help without being a burden. Orihime, go and find Mr. Goku or Gohan. I will handle them, said the black-haired girl while putting herself in battle pose. Are you sure? Asked the orange-haired girl worried. Yes, just go, said Tatsuki, giving her a thumbs up, which made Orihime retreat, leaving her alone against more than 5 hollows. Let's see. 4 small ones and 1 big one. This will be interesting, thought Tatsuki. From one second to another she concentrated light energy with her bracelets, and shot it against the biggest hollow, leaving it stunned. That attack alerted the rest of the creatures, who quickly launched themselves against the black-haired girl, who gave a great jump, and from the air gave an axe kick to the head of one of them to quickly begin, unleashing a rain of punches charged with that light, pulverizing them all. Slowly the 4 small hollows were completely out of combat, while the bigger one recovered. This completely angry one charged in its mouth a sarrow that was launched against Tatsuki, who covered herself with her arms in an X shape supporting the impact, and she responded, creating a yellow key sphere that she launched against the creature, which suffered quite a bit of damage. The thing did not end there, because now the black-haired girl gave another great jump and charged much power in a flying kick that ended up knocking down and finishing her opponent. After the fight she retracted her weapons and looked agitated from exhaustion. I must train more in how to properly manage my energy so I do not tire and use too much power, thought Tatsuki, who went to follow her friend, who was already quite far, but not out of danger. With the Arankar, Apache, Mila Rose and Sung Sun found themselves fighting against a group of hollows that were trying to harm people. Although they contained themselves to not kill those of their own species, being a rancor made them have compassion for their own, despite that in the past they consumed others of their kind to strengthen themselves. We are doing well. We already cleared this part of the city, said Apache, charging a sarrow with her horn. I agree, a few more and we can look for the others, said Sung Sun while imitating Apache's action. Less talk and more action, said Mila Rose, activating her resurrection to speed things up. With Yuruchi and Matsumoto, both women interested in the Saiyan, found themselves in the sky taking down every hollow that crossed their path. Yuruchi used her punches with key spheres to disintegrate the creatures, while her friend and rival had used her shike, which consisted of converting the blade of her weapon into cutting ashes. This ability she reinforced by placing ki in her Zanpakuto before using the shike. I am very jealous. Did you really kiss him? Asked Yuruchi while sending a hollow flying with a kick. Yes, and I must tell you it felt incredible. Besides, it is noticeable that he also enjoyed his first kiss, said the lieutenant, very proud of herself, while with her ashes she sliced 3 hollows. What do you mean first kiss? Was he not married? Asked a confused Yuruchi. According to what he told me in one of his trainings, he never kissed his wife, which still seems strange to me, but I am happy to be his first kiss, said Rangaku, happily knowing she would treasure that memory forever. GRR. I am annoyed. How about we play a game? Asked an angry Yuruchi, who activated her Shunko. What do you propose? Asked the lieutenant, interested. Whoever kills more of these things will have the right to sleep 1 week alone with Goku, said she while finishing off 5 hollows with great speed. Deal, said the lieutenant, creating a key aura around her as a sign that she was going serious. When I finish with this zone I have to go see Chad. I feel his ki weakening, but I think he can win, thought the lieutenant, very sure that her student would win that fight. With Chad, the mentioned one found himself in a difficult situation. The hollow he faced had increased its powers since last time, surpassing him for the moment. Despite having learned the use of ki, it still cost him to use it well, especially for flight. Chad just let himself be hit, because he was waiting for an opening in his attacker's defense to use the technique that Goku taught him, but that he had to perfect. This is bad. I will not resist much longer, and he does not lower his guard. Come on, Chad. Think of something, said the young brown-haired boy to himself, who received a hard blow from the hollow, sending him crashing against a wall with several wounds. I see you improved, brat, but you are not on my level. Once I get revenge on you I will go for that girl, and do to her the same I did to the other boy, said sadistically, the hollow approaching Chad slowly, while he remembered every moment of his training with Urahara and Goku. He wanted power, but Urahara told him once, absolute power without a purpose is nothing against that of someone who has one. That is the key to being strong. What is your purpose? Thought Chad, remembering that phrase that resonated in his head again and again, while he began to get up and to release for the first time in a constant manner his spiritual power. My purpose is to protect, said the brown-haired boy, who quickly an aura of spiritual power covered his right arm completely. When the energy dissipated, his arm had modified, having a black color with a red stripe with white lines on the side. Some plates that seemed metallic near his fist and others that extended on his shoulder. Without saying any word, the young brown-haired boy throws a punch in the air. That quickly that punch transformed into a power burst that surprised the hollow with its guard down. Not yet, thought Chad, who did not stop, and quickly approached his opponent to give him a blow with his new arm, which besides being very potent in its punches also had great resistance, as if it were armor. Once the hollow was weakened, and ended up with a broken arm, Chad saw that this was the indicated moment to use for the first time in real combat his master's favorite technique. So he joined both hands even with his deformed arm. He pulled them back and concentrated all the ki he stored. Came, Haim. While the brown-haired boy pronounced those words, a blue sphere formed in his hands until the powerful ki blasted directly against the hollow, who could do nothing to avoid it and only received the impact that left him on the verge of death. Chad was satisfied with what he achieved. He protected the sister of his dead friend, and now he could protect the other people he cared about. His thoughts were interrupted when a person lands on the ground. Excellent, Chad. You managed to defeat him and release your spiritual power. I assure you that will make Goku very proud of you, said Rangaku with a smile, since she witnessed the whole fight when the brown-haired boy awakened his powers. Thank you, Rangaku-sensei. But what do we do with him? Asked Chad, pointing at the nearly dead hollow. His answer came when from the ground a red door, with many demonic details, emerged. It began to open slowly, showing a completely red panorama on the other side. Some arms that came out of it trapped and dragged the hollow inside. Once the creature was consumed, the door closed and disappeared back into the ground. Chad was about to ask, but Rangaku beat him to it, giving him the answer. The gates of hell. That is a very different place from Hueco Mundo, or the Soul Society. There go the souls of hollows that before being so committed atrocities that they continued doing when they transformed. The only thing you have to know is that he will not return, and that he will pay for what he did for eternity, said the lieutenant seriously. That is somewhat reassuring, said Chad, not knowing what words to use, because he was still in shock. Well, it will be better to go help the others. We still have much work to do, said Rangaku, somewhat annoyed, and thinking about finding the culprit of this to punish him. Meanwhile, with the Quincy, Uriah kept finishing off the hollows with his spiritual bow, but for a second he felt a chill run down his spine, as if it were an omen of something truly bad. Why do I feel that tomorrow will be a horrible day, and that I should never again bother a woman? Thought the Quincy, still not understanding why he felt that chill, that he put aside to concentrate again on killing hollows. With Orheim, the pretty orange-haired girl kept running, trying to find one of the Saiyans without success. Suddenly, she felt a blow that hit her face, and upon recovering from it she realized that that blow was made by one of her classmates, who had a strange liquid on her body, and her eyes indicated that she was not conscious of what she was doing. She, upon looking everywhere, ran into the surprise that she was surrounded by her possessed classmates, and upon looking up, she found the culprit of all this. It was a strange hollow with purple tentacles that kept releasing that strange liquid on her classmates. Ha ha ha, little girl, do not worry. Soon you will join your friends, laughed maliciously the hollow, and the only thing Orheim could do was fall to her knees. This cannot end like this. I still have much to do. There are still many strange dishes I have not made, and I still have not told Gohan my feelings. I no longer want to be weak. I want to help them all, thought the girl, but her words made something in her react. In seconds her spiritual power grew until her snowflake-shaped hairpin divided into 6 parts, giving origin to some small fairies that encouraged her to keep going. These fairies were 3 men and 3 women of names Aim, Bagan, Hinajuku, Lily, Shuno and Tsubuki. Do not fear, Orheim, we will help you, said one of the fairies while telling her that they had a series of formations that activated their abilities. I understand. In that case, let's go, said the orange-haired girl, more cheerful, ready to fight against that hollow. Little brat, those flies will not save you. Attack my slaves, said the hollow, ordering her victims to attack. Santen Keshin, said Orheim, and in less than a second 3 of her fairies positioned themselves to create a triangular shield that stopped the blows of the girl's classmates, leaving them lying on the ground. But what the heck? Wondered the hollow, but she did not finish her question when she saw the next move of the orange-haired girl. Saten Kishin, said Orihime while two of her fairies formed near the knocked out girls to heal them and remove the liquid that controlled them. This angered the hollow very much, who tried to control the girls again, but the orange-haired girl used her shield again to protect them, and since she noticed the creature's defense was low, she performed her final move, the only offensive one that her fairies had. "It is over, Cotton Zanshin," said she, making one of her fairies cover itself with a golden aura while shooting out like a projectile. This fairy managed to cut the hollow in half, who ended up being defeated. This made Orihime very happy because for the first time she did not have to depend on others to defend herself. However, this joy came down when 3 new hollows appeared surrounding her. Even though they outnumbered her, she would protect her classmates until the end. "We will not let them harm you," shouted 3 familiar voices from different sides. In less than a few seconds the 3 hollows were defeated by the people who arrived. Rukia had attacked, swiftly cutting one. Tatsuki gave a mace blow to another with her bracelets, and Gohan split one in half from the air. "Guys, thank you for helping me," said a happy Orihime who saw how she was saved by her friends. "You are welcome, Orihime-chan. Although you were doing very well," said the younger son with a smile, blushing, the orange-haired girl. "Yes, well, now that everything is calmer, and we are all together," began to say Tatsuki, looking at Rukia with a very friendly smile, although she was releasing a great murderous intent. "What is this about you having a date?" "Yes, I had it, and it would have been incredible if that Quincy had not appeared interrupting me when I was going to kiss Gohan," said Rukia with a mixture of sadness and a competitive tone against the black-haired girl. "That is not fair, Rukia. We are friends. Why did you not tell us anything?" asked Orihime with some jealousy. While the girls argued, Gohan could not help but feel that his father's and Haribel's key were near Uriu's, besides having the premonition that something big would appear soon. "Girls, we will talk about this later. For now we must meet with my father. I have the premonition that something is approaching." They all stopped arguing to pay attention to the Saiyan, and accepting what he said to march off. Rukia took flight. Tatsuki equipped her boots to run, and since Orihime was the only one who did not know how to fly or run at high speed, Gohan had to carry her bridal style, blushing her, and leaving the others jealous. With Goku and Haribel, the Saiyan and the Arrancar were back-to-back fighting in the air against many hollow. At the blonde's request, Goku made an effort to not kill the creatures, because although they were savage they were still part of Haribel's species. While they continued, Goku let out a smile that stranged the Vasto Lord. "Why so happy, Goku?" asked the blonde while launching a low-power Sero to stun the hollows. "It is because I could feel Chad and Orihime's ki increase. That means they already managed to release their spiritual power," said the son with a proud smile while launching ki spheres. "I see. So those kids who were with your son managed to become stronger." "Without a doubt humans are stronger than I thought," said Haribel. They both continued with their business until they cleared the skies, and in a short moment of peace Haribel decided to speak. "Tell me, Goku, what do you think of me?" asked the blonde, looking away. "Why the question?" asked the Saiyan with a face of not understanding. "I mean, we have only known each other for a very short time, but I want to know how you see me and the others," said she, somewhat blushing. "Well, I see you as a very strong girl, beautiful, with a strong character, and who also always worries about the well-being of her companions," said the son with a smile that made the Arrancar's heart beat faster. "And of the others?" asked the blonde, still with her blush present. "Rangaku-chan is someone fun, carefree, adorable, cute, and with the same desire to care for others. Yuruchi-chan is a very strong woman who is also very fun, carefree, and beautiful. And your friends? I see them as my daughters, people I want to care for and watch grow," finished saying Goku without realizing how the Vasto Lord was. Haribel, upon hearing the last part, thought that Apache, Mila Rose, and Sung's son more than her friends. She saw and treated them as her daughters. If he also sees them as daughters, what would happen if? Thought the blonde, until Ariatsuero, that she stopped with her hand pulled her from her thoughts. "Who or what are you? Why do I feel hollow power in you?" asked Uriu, who was responsible for that arrow. "I am an Arrancar. What are you?" asked Haribel, somewhat annoyed because they interrupted her. "Hello, Ishida. How are you?" greeted Goku to one of his students whom he recognized instantly. At any moment Uriu was going to shoot another arrow. Haribel charged a Sero behind her back, and Goku was ready to interfere. But from nowhere a great spiritual pressure was felt throughout the park, making the Quincy fall to his knees from the great pressure. Before those present, 2 gargantus larger than usual opened, and from these came out 2 giant hollow, completely black, with a mask that had an enormous nose, small eyes, and sharp teeth. "What are those things?" asked a scared Quincy. "They are the Manos Grande. They possess a power greater than any hollow you killed today, said Harem with arms crossed. While they look very powerful, I want to fight them, said an enthusiastic Goku. Wait, Goku. Two voices were heard in the distance. From the sky appeared Lieutenant Rangaku carrying Chad on her back, and from the other side came Yaruchi, followed by Gohan and the rest of their friends. Goku, allow us to demonstrate to you the result of our training, said an enthusiastic Rangaku, ready to demonstrate her new strength. Are you sure, Rangaku? Asked Goku. He knew how much the lieutenant and Yaruchi had struggled, but he did not want them to put themselves in danger. Very sure. I have already surpassed the powers of a lieutenant, so a Manos Grande will be a perfect opponent, said the lieutenant while approaching the Saiyan War. I do not know. I do not want you to get her. Goku could not finish because Rangaku took him by the cheeks and gave him a kiss on the lips in a sweet manner. Trust me, said the lieutenant, blushing from her action while taking the Saiyan's hand. Hee hee. Alright, Rangaku. Give him a beating, and you too, Yaruchi, said the son with his classic smile. While the lieutenant and the Catwoman took their positions, both had a competitive look, but Yaruchi's showed jealousy for what she saw seconds ago. The Saiyan went with Harem, and with the rest of the young people who had different reactions. Gohan, Rukia and Orihime were happy because finally Rangaku and Goku were a couple. Chad said nothing but showed a smile. Tatsuki was with her mouth open, not believing what she saw due to the innocence of her sensei, and the blonde Durankar also felt jealousy. With Yaruchi and Rangaku, how about we change the bet? Asked Yaruchi, taking off her orange vest. What is it? Could you not finish more hollows than me? Asked the lieutenant with a confident smile. Yeah, sure. As if I finished more of them. Anyway, the challenge is, the first one to defeat her Manos Grande has the right to sleep with Goku for a week without the others entering, said Yaruchi, very confident. Deal. You will lose, pervert cat, said Rangaku, activating her shike. The Manos Grande only looked at the women like simple ants, so they tried to crush them. Although they did not realize it did not work, because both were containing the stomp to then apply force, knocking them down. Rangaku did not waste time, and with her ashes, covered the hollow's legs, cutting them slowly to then deliver a blow to its mask, cracking it. The creature, extremely annoyed by this, charged Acero, that caught the lieutenant with her guard down, who received the blow. But to her luck she managed to use a ki aura that stopped the impact, and the only thing affected was her uniform. I must be more careful. That Acero could have done more damage if not for Goku's training, thought Rangaku, shaking off the dust and raising her spiritual pressure as well as her ki. On the other hand, Yaruchi, having been a captain before, possessed more experience against this type of hollows. Besides never lowering her guard, the Manos was being pulverized by hundreds of punches and kicks at hyper speed, so much that if it charged Acero it would surely fail, because it could not even see its rival. After humiliating her rival, the Catwoman knocks it down with a kick to retreat and use an unperfected technique of her future boyfriend. I still do not dominate it well, but I only need a few seconds to defeat him, thought Yaruchi while positioning herself as if she were about to release ki. She will do it, then I will not be left behind, thought the lieutenant, who after stunning the hollow with her ashes also retreated to prepare the technique taught by her boyfriend. Kaio-ken, shouted to the sky Yaruchi, while her white Shunko aura was replaced by a red one throughout her body. With that new power taught by Goku, she launched herself against the Manos that with just 2 punches left him half dead, and with his mask completely broken and almost falling off. While that was happening, the lieutenant gathered ki in her hands to perform Goku's most famous attack. Haim, shouted the lieutenant, launching the blue flash against her enemy, who tried to counter it with Acero, but this was consumed by the attack. In turn, Yaruchi got tired of prolonging the fight, so with a quick jump she was already in the air, and with all her power, she gave the Manos an axe kick, with so much force that ended up splitting it in half, winning the bet. On the other hand, Rangaku's Kamehameha left the hollow dying, but alive. This annoyed her very much, because she still did not have enough potency to finish off her enemy. So in her fit of rage she launched multiple ki spheres, that ended up killing the Manos. Looks like I won. He, said Yaruchi with a proud smile. A bet is a bet, said Rangaku with a pout. Well, if you excuse me, I must go buy something for tonight, said the Catwoman, leaving the place using her flash step with a mischievous look. Rangaku, are you alright? Said Goku while looking worried from head to toe at the lieutenant, who blushed at how the son worried. Yes, I am. Although my clothes were damaged a bit, said she without noticing that one could see a bit of her undergarments, embarrassing her a bit. The important thing is that you are fine. said Goku with a warm smile, so the lieutenant took advantage of this, and hugged the sun as her consolation prize. While this was happening, Harabelle felt jealousy, but she left those thoughts aside while watching how the Quincy tried to sneak away from the place, and this made the Arrancar suspect that the boy had something to do with what happened. So using her Sunito, she placed herself in front of Urayu, preventing him from leaving. "I think there is something you have to say, boy," said the blonde, looking at the black-haired boy who got scared by the sudden appearance. Rukia also noticed Urayu's escape attempt, so before doing anything against him, she approached her teacher and whispered in her ear everything that happened, which made her furious because it was thanks to the Quincy that her date ended earlier. So once she detached from Goku's hug, the lieutenant and her apprentice headed toward Urayu with very sweet smiles and evil auras behind them. "Ishida-san, we would like to speak with you," said the two with their smiles that terrified the Quincy, who swallowed saliva, not knowing what awaited him. "I cannot help but feel pity for him," thought everyone, sending a prayer to Kami-sama to have mercy on poor Urayu. "If what I read about human behavior is correct, they will take revenge on him using the horrors of teenagers," said a very calm Sung-sun, who arrived with her friends, but realized that the Shinigami were planning to make the Quincy's life difficult. The next day during recess, at this moment in the courtyard, one could see in Urayu with large dark circles, indicating he did not sleep all night, while the students were saying different things to him due to a discovery that occurred upon opening his things from sewing class. "Finally Ishida has entered the dark side," said a boy proud of the Quincy, while others supported him. "No, Urayu-senpai, do not let yourself be carried away by the perverted path," shouted a girl along with others who still did not believe what they found in the Quincy's things. "You deserve it for ruining our dates," thought Rukia and Rangaku, watching from a distance their victim whom they began to punish since last night. Flashback. After the city was cleaned of everything that happened during the night, Rukia and Rangaku in their Shinigami forms went to punish the Quincy, starting with putting fish in his house, which attracted hundreds of stray cats that would be meowing all night. "It is still not enough," said Rangaku. "I have an idea, Lieutenant. Follow me," said the small Shinigami, taking her to the house of a boy from her school. This boy was a first-class pervert whom they had already punished for bringing inappropriate materials secretly to classes. The lieutenant disliked this boy, and more, because his role model in life was another pervert who wore red dragon armor. "I still do not understand why an idiotic pervert like that has a harem. Besides, it is pathetic the way he uses his powers," thought Rangaku, remembering when she read a manga with that character. Author note: I do not think I need to say who I refer to in this part. Here they are. Now we exchange them for fake ones and we can finish, said Rukia with much disgust, carrying 3 embarrassing magazines. "Oh Rukia, you are indeed bad. I am proud of you," said the lieutenant, hugging her apprentice to then go directly to the academy. Already at the academy that night, Rukia put under the desk where Urayu always sits the magazines, so that when he took his sewing tools he would also pull out the magazines, passing a horrible humiliation and the death of his reputation. "Lieutenant, where are you?" "I already put the magazines where they should be," said Rukia through the hallways. "I am here, Rukia. I was leaving our Quincy friend a last gift that he will not forget for a month," said the lieutenant, trying not to laugh in an evil manner. End of flashback. Could things possibly get worse? Asked Urayu to the air, without knowing that by asking that question things always turn bad. "Hello Urayu. I hope you are ready for my extra classes after school and during the weekend," said Goku, smiling, leaving the Quincy pale. "What?" shouted Urayu. "Yes. Apparently the principal discovered you got into my classes for extra credits. I will see you later and carry this in your backpack when we train," said Goku, giving the Quincy a sack full of rocks to then retreat, leaving a pale and scared Urayu, who only had comic tear waterfalls. "I will never again anger the Shinigami, and much less the women in love," thought the boy, while a depressive aura formed around him, being observed by Gohan's friends. "I think they went overboard, although maybe I would do the same," thought Tatsuki and Orihime, while walking behind Chad, who thought nothing. During the night at Urahara's shop in his training field, the man in the hat called everyone to come to his training field to talk about a very serious topic. Among those present were the Arrancar, the Saiyans who were hugged on both arms by some of their girls, and Gohan's companions, all of them waiting for what Urahara would say. "Alright, as you know, yesterday a large number of Hollow attacked the city. This would not be serious if not for the fact that the Manos Grande appeared," said the former captain. "What does that mean?" asked Tapaxi curiously. "It means that the Soul Society will soon come here to see what happened. But it is very probable that they know what we did," answered Rangaku, very sure that the Shinigami somehow found out that she and her apprentice gave up their powers. which is frowned upon. Exactly, Lieutenant. The Reapers will come for you, and I do not think they will be happy about that, and much less if they find out that you are friends with the Arrancar, said Urahara, knowing that if Yamamoto found out he would have them executed. There was a long and uncomfortable silence. Rukia clung more to Gohan's arm, while Rengoku did the same with Goku. They could only think of the worst, being executed, or in the worst case ending up imprisoned in the Mukin with their powers sealed, and with no possibility of escape for all eternity. However, both felt relieved, because they felt how their respective boyfriend released his arm from the other girl's grip, to give them a warm hug. Do not worry, Rengoku. I will not let them hurt you, said Goku, protectively hugging the lieutenant more, who was blushing, and with her heart beating hard. Thank you, Goku. I could not have chosen a better boyfriend than you. You are everything I always dreamed, said Rengoku, clinging more, causing jealousy in Yoruichi and Harabel, but they let it pass because they understood her worry. I will also protect you, Rukia-chan, said Gohan in the same way as his father. Thank you, Gohan, said Rukia, whose action also caused jealousy in Tatsuki and Orihime. Ahem. If you are done being romantic, I continue, said Urahara with some amusement, because that moment relieved the great tension. Of course, Urahara, you can continue, said Rengoku, still hugging Goku. Alright, under normal circumstances they would take a week to come to us, but while they were fighting I created a machine that ensures they will not find out anything for a long time, said Urahara with a proud smile, because once again he proved to be the smartest of all the Shinigami to outwit the entire Soul Society. How much time did you get us? Asked Rukia. 6 full months. It could be a year if someone inside the Tsuride also delays them, said the former captain. Urahara-san, we have a full year. Yesterday, before returning, Captain Aizen appeared to us and said he knew our situation, but that he would help us, starting by giving us more time, said Rukia, excited because she knew that Aizen with his intellect could delay the arrival of the Shinigami. Aizen, why is it that whenever he is mentioned nothing good can happen? Thought Urahara, worried about the true intentions of the captain of Division 5. He met the captain when he was still a lieutenant. In fact, Aizen was responsible for Urahara having to leave the Soul Society because of what happened to Captain Shinji. Girls, never trust Captain Aizen. That guy can say and do many things, but at the end of the day everything he does is for his personal benefit. Believe me, I knew him when he was a lieutenant, and it is thanks to him that I had to leave the Soul Society, said a very serious Urahara, disconcerting the Shinigami, who always saw him as one of the most beloved and kind captains of all. It cannot be. Captain Aizen would not do such things, right, Lieutenant? Asked Rukia, still not believing what she heard, while her teacher was very thoughtful. Now that I think about it, he has had a very strange attitude in the last year. Every day he went to the forest with Captain Ichimaru and Towson to talk about something, said the lieutenant, noticing that very strange behavior among the captains. I can back up what Urahara says. Before sleeping I felt from afar a malignant presence in front of you, said Goku, contributing something to the talk. No, it cannot be, said Rukia, still not believing that until Gohan encouraged her. After continuing to talk about evidence that incriminated Aizen, Urahara went silent to give the floor to Goku. Alright, listen. We have a year to prepare for whatever comes or to combat the Soul Society, so we will have training groups and days to alternate each one, said Goku, clashing his fists, because he was very excited to train. How will we be organized? Asked Harabel to the Saiyan. The first training group would be me, Rengoku, Yoruichi, Urahara, Sung-Sun, and you, Harabel, said Goku. Then the second group would be me, Gohan, Chad, Orihime, Tatsuki, Apache, and Mila Rose, said Rukia, seeming like a very good formation. Exactly, Rukia, but some days, Urahara, and I will train you so that you progress better, said the elder son. Mr. Goku, I have a doubt. What types of training will we have? Asked Orihime, who was more than willing to become stronger to not be a burden to the others. In general, everyone will train with ki, but you must also progress with your spiritual power. You, Chad, and Tatsuki hold more power than you think. You only need to train hard to unleash your maximum power, while the rest must learn that Bankei thing, said Goku, surprising the Shinigami and the Arrancar. Wait, Goku, what do you mean everyone? We do not know if they also have a Bankei like us, said Rengoku, not very sure about that part. Well, technically that thing called resurrection is like the Shikei, but stronger, so I do not doubt that they also have a Bankei, or in this case a second resurrection, said Urahara with a good point. Yes, but how will we achieve a Bankei in a year? It takes the captains years to achieve them, said Rukia, very insecure but excited. Well, it is very possible, because you are in the presence of the person who developed his Bankei in 3 days with inhuman effort and the one who in a week without realizing it learned it, said Yoruichi pointing at the former captain, and the elder son. What? Shouted incredulous Rangaku, and Rukia, not being able to believe that something like that could be done in so little time. But what truly surprised them was discovering that Goku somehow achieved a Bankei without them finding out. Goku, when did that happen? Asked Rangaku, shaking him because her boyfriend hid such important information from her. He. Well, I could not sleep sometimes, so I went to my inner space where I got to know Walker Guardian better until at one point without realizing it I reached Bankei that I activated when everyone was asleep, said the son naturally as if it were not a big deal, while Rangaku kept telling the son that you do not hide that type of information from your partner Yoruichi. And Urahara thought that besides training they should trace a plan of entry and exit from the Soul Society, so that nothing happens like the loss or imprisonment of those who would go. Gohan, you too? Asked Oraheim curiously. Yes, I also achieved it. I just did not say anything because I did not consider it important, said Gohan, scratching his neck before receiving a blow from Rukia, starting the same discussion that her father was having. The next day, already after school and after punishing Uriah with training, everyone found themselves gathered in the basement ready to train. They only needed to wait for the sons. The Shinigami wore their standard black kimonos. The Arrancar wore their personalized clothes. Gohan's friends wore gym clothes consisting of white shirts. Yoruichi wore her black clothes without the vest while Urahara kept his usual clothes. We are ready. Goku said this as he appeared in his classic orange gi, and Gohan wore the clothes of Piccolo using the heavy cape. Both carried their Zanpakuto on their shoulders. I love it when they wear that clothing. All the girls interested in the sons thought this with slight blushes. Well guys, we will start this training with everything. Are you ready? Yes. Everyone shouted this. Rangaku and Rukia and Urahara released their shikes for combat. The Arancars activated their resurrections. Yoruichi used the controlled Shunshin Chahanjin. Oraheim released her fairies. Chad prepared his arm and Tatsuki equipped her bracelets and boots. As their only response, the sons placed their swords fully extended against their opponents before saying the words that gave start to the first day of training of the year. Bankei. Tensa Zanjutsu. Gohan said this. Bankei. Walked time. Goku said this. Meanwhile, in the Soul Society, in the deepest part of the forests of this place, one could see a house that at plain sight seemed completely uninhabited, but inside of it there was a secret passage that leads to a sort of laboratory full of surgical objects, and chemical compounds, and other things. However, what called the most attention was seeing two people with the vests that indicated they were captains of the Suride. They were looking at a giant container full of a strange liquid, where a very strange person floated who could not be seen, because of the darkness. Are you sure that you want to do that? You do not even know of what it is capable after what you did to it. The first person said this. Yes, I am. I plan to free it when they arrive. If the Soul Society does not defeat them, it surely will. The second person said this with an evil smile on his face. Everything. It is part of my plan. This person thought this before retreating from the place, leaving it in absolute darkness. Time skip. 1 year later. A year had already passed since the Saiyans and Shinigamis and Arancars and humans started their arduous training to go to the Soul Society in case Rangaku and Rukia were in danger for giving their powers. Both Rangaku and Rukia in 3 months with much effort managed to learn their respective Bankei. Therefore the rest of the year they dedicated themselves to perfecting them, and to mastering Ki. The little Shinigami was the one who had the most problems, when she learned to release Haka no Tagame, because that power left her in a cryogenic state upon reaching absolute zero if she exceeded her time. Also for unknown reasons her Ryatsu took longer to recover than usual. Author note. Now she has the Hagioku. Rangaku for her part did not have major problems in the training. There were only a few fights between her and Yoruichi and Harabel for the affection of the son, although he loved them equally. The lieutenant upon learning the Bankei of Heiniko noticed that her appearance changed a little. She had the ears and tail of a cat of orange color like her hair. The handle of her sword disappeared to be replaced by 2 metallic gloves in the shape of claws that controlled a greater amount of ashes that she handled with her hands. In addition, she had a new ability that allowed her to make an explosion with the ashes. For her part, Yoruichi, by not using a Zanpakuto, focused more on planning what everyone would do in the Soul Society. In addition, she trained without rest with Ki. Therefore, by the end of the year, she knew the entire arsenal of techniques of Goku. But training was not all that she did. She also had her date with the sun, where they had much fun. and ended up kissing. This did not bother Rangaku, because she was in agreement to share him with the Catwoman. But she also realized that someone else wanted to enter this love nest. Of all the Arancars, Harabel was the only one who managed to reach a second resurrection. This improved her mastery with water. In addition, it gave her a more revealing outfit than the one she had before. With the passing of the days, she understood what she felt for Goku. With the help of Gohan and Orihime and Yuruchi, she managed to be more open and ask for a date that the Saiyan accepted. At the end of this, she became the third girlfriend of the elder son. On the other hand, her companions, who did not manage to reach the second stage, compensated for it by training more and combined techniques. Among them, their move, the Reaper Chimera, was the most powerful of all these. This power consisted in that by means of the sacrifice of an arm from each one, they managed to perform a fusion of a giant humanoid creature with the legs of a giant and muscular deer, a completely stocky body, a tail in the shape of a serpent, the mane of a lion, and a mask in the shape of a skull with moose horns to cover their horrible face. Urahara increased his power, and only when he faced Goku was he forced to use his Benkei, that altered all the properties of his environment. However, the friends of Gohan were the ones who suffered the most from the training, since they did not want to fall behind the Arancars and Shinigamis. Therefore their training was heavier, both to learn to use their ki and to improve their spiritual power. Tatsuki, by training more with Gohan, managed to have in due time the moments that she needed to clarify her feelings, something that with the passing of the weeks both she and Orihime admitted to being in love with the younger son. Therefore, after a very strong discussion that started with blows and hair pulling between Rukia and the others, they reached the agreement to share him. After all confessed what they felt, they dedicated themselves to training with much force to make their boyfriend feel proud. Tatsuki managed to control her ki, and to achieve in several months an evolution of her powers where her bracelets and boots changed from white color to a black with red. This new power replaced the bracelets with gloves in the shape of claws, and some incorporated needles. Her boots possessed spurs that upon spinning them her attacks turned into flaming kicks, and as an addition a mouth cover on her face that partially modified her voice. Also she learned the Masenko and the fighting style of the family of evil. Orihime for her part learned both the style of the turtle and that of the family of evil, making a combination of both. The power of her fairies also increased, making her shield return part of the impact of an attack. She improved her healing and learned in a slow but sure manner the use of ki and the attacks of the suns. It is worth highlighting that her personality remained sweet and kind, although she became a little more serious and less crybaby when it came to a fight. She knew that she would not surpass the level of her best friend or her boyfriend, but she wanted to be prepared for whatever. Of the friends of Gohan, Chad was the one who reached the greatest power during all that year, surpassing Tatsuki and Orihime. After he mastered the style of the turtle and ki, he dedicated himself to improving with the powers of his right arm. Already in the middle of the year, the young brown-haired boy made his arm evolve, having a more human form, and changing its colors being red and black. He also managed to make his left arm take a new form. With the passing of time, both Goku and Urahara concluded that the right arm served more for defense, and that the left one was for offense. Both arms received a name. The right one was the arm of the giant and the left one was called the white arm of the devil, each one with a different technique that were seen empowered by his mastery of ki. Another of the many trainings was that of teamwork, which had interesting results. Chad and Tatsuki were a devastating team, due to the enormous strength of both. The difference that they had, and that made them complement each other, was that the black-haired girl had much speed, but was not very resistant to damage, while the brown-haired boy could endure much punishment, but lacked speed. Orihime and Rukia, by being friends and rivals, managed to be a team. The black-haired girl, by using her Benkei, was always in danger of her body freezing. Therefore the orange-haired girl used her healing fairies, so that upon the time of the transformation of the little Shinigami ending she would recover faster, and be able to return to the battle. And the girlfriends of Goku achieved a very devastating combined attack, combining the cascade of Harabel, and the ashes of Rangaku in her Benkei, and the electricity of Yuruchi. Their move consisted in trapping their enemy inside the sphere of water, so that it would be covered by the explosive ashes, and before being detonated the purple-haired girl launched an electric attack that reacts with the water, to finally explode. For their part, the Saiyans, by belonging to a very proud warrior race, did not know the concept of working as a team unless something truly bad happened, like when they faced the legendary Super Saiyan Broly a few months before arriving to this new world. Time passed quickly until the year was completed. Everyone had had incredible results upon training with the Saiyans and felt capable of confronting various Shinigamis without problems. Now we find a happy Goku sleeping placidly in his new bed that was bigger due to a detail. There were 3 girls sleeping with him on different sides. On his right arm was the Lieutenant Rangaku with a cheerful smile while she hugged his arm tighter. She wore a short gray shirt and white shorts. On the other end was Harem with her mask retracted on her neck. She also hugged the arm of the sun with a smile. To not use her bones, the Vosto Lord went dressed with a blue top and very short pants for greater comfort. And lastly, sleeping on top of his chest was Yoruchi, with her hair loose, and wearing a set of red sleepwear, because she was always more daring than her friends. She also hugged her man with a smile. But what all had in common was that each one wore a small golden ring with a small diamond on one of the fingers of their hands. That is right, the lieutenant and the ranker, and the ex-captain of the spy corps were engaged as the future wives of the Saiyan. That was the reason why all slept with the sun in a bigger bed, so that all would fit, although there was still space for 2 more people. But how did this happen? At what moment? Flashback. 1 month before the year ended, in Urahara's shop another meeting was occurring where the ex-captain and Orihime were explaining to the elder son about romantic relationships, because both noticed that the girls were increasingly attached to Goku, and that he was beginning to have a great affection for them that he never felt with milk. Well, Goku, to be sure that you understood it, define marriage. Urahara said this, expectantly awaiting the response of his not very intelligent friend. Well, it is when 2 people want to spend the rest of their lives married to form a family. Goku said this, somewhat confused. Correct, Mr. Goku. What do you think and feel about the Mrs. Rangaku and Yoruchi and Harem? Orihime asked this. The truth is, I have a great fondness and affection for all of them. They made me experience the most incredible moments of my life, both training and going out on dates. I never felt something like this in all my years with my late wife. Goku said this in one of his rare moments, where he showed his sentimental side. That answer made Urahara feel extremely proud, because he knew that Yoruchi had a great person as a boyfriend, while Orihime let out an "oh how cute." Good. Very good answer. Now a difficult question. Would you be capable of choosing one as your wife? Urahara asked this, taking out his fan and putting on a serious face. No, I do not think so. If I did, 2 of them would end up hurt, and I do not want to see them sad. Goku said this with a serious face. Then, if the case arose, would you marry all of them? Orihime asked this with curiosity. Yes, that way none will end up hurt and I can keep seeing them happy. Goku said this with a smile. Urahara and Orihime could only applaud for the great heart that the Saiyan had for always thinking of others. But what neither noticed was that Rangaku and Yoruchi and Harem had returned from their activities in the city and heard the entire chat. Therefore, after blushing and their hearts accelerating, they ended up fainting from the sweetest words that they heard from their boyfriend. During the rest of the week, the girls were extremely happy for what the sun said about them. This caused that in a meeting between them they agreed that their boyfriend should marry all of them to not ruin their relationship. This was proposed by Yoruchi, and the only one who doubted to later accept was Harem. They were going to tell him that, but they did not find him anywhere in the house and the shop until they ran into Urahara and Orihime as if they were in one of their meetings to teach the sun about feelings. Excuse me, Urahara, have you seen Goku? Yoruchi asked this. I have not seen him since he left after asking me some very peculiar questions. The ex-captain said this, trying to play the unaware. And what did he ask? Harem asked this. He asked about a jewelry store, then about how to manufacture diamonds, and Urahara did not finish speaking, because 2 of the girls started to scream with joy because they knew that those questions only indicated one thing. Harem was the only one who did not scream, but she did blush to the maximum. No, it cannot be. He will ask me to marry him. The 3 thought this, imagining a Goku in an elegant suit getting on his knees to offer them a ring. Hey girls, Goku said this as he entered Urahara's shop, carrying a small box and a briefcase full of money. He could not say anything more, because Rangaku and Yoruchi threw themselves on top of him, making the Saiyan fall backwards, with 2 women hugging him forcefully, while the Vosto Lord only wished to kiss him. But she held back because she felt curiosity for the box, that upon opening it she found 10 engagement rings. We accept marrying you, Goku, the 3 said in unison while they kept giving affection to a barely understanding Saiyan. Well, I did not say anything yet, but thanks for accepting. Goku said this with a big smile for his family. But Goku, why so many rings if we are only 3? Yoruchi said this, curious, and trying to avoid thinking that the sun was hiding another girl from them. Well, after I managed to create diamonds by force of pressure, I took them to the jewelry store that Urahara mentioned, and then the guy from the place took one of the ones I made, and assembled all of these. I paid with another diamond, and the money was because he insisted that I sell him the other one. The son explained this, remembering the surprised face of the jeweler when he appeared with 3 diamonds. Well, looking at it from another angle, now Gohan will have to propose marriage to Rukia when they grow up. Rangaku said this cheerfully, making Orihime blush by thinking about the possibility of marrying the son of Goku too. I have a doubt, which of us will be the first to marry? Harem said this in a calm manner. That question caused the atmosphere to become heavy, because the girls would begin to argue over that unknown. Orihime, knowing how dangerous a jealous woman is, left the shop as fast as possible, while Harem moved Goku away from the girls, and telling him to use teleportation, when their attention focused on him again. Well, that answer is obvious. I will be the first because I am his first girlfriend. Rangaku said this with a red murderous aura over her. Ha! As if that mattered. I should be the first because I am the most attractive and strong of the 3. Yuruchi said this with a white aura of lightning. The 2 of you are wrong. I will be the first for being stronger. In addition, by being the last, I have more rights than you. Harem said this with a yellow and blue aura over her. I think that someone neutral and impartial should make that decision. Yuruchi said this, rolling her eyes toward a scared Urahara. Goku, do it now. The ex-captain said this, scared, hugging the Saiyan comically, who used teleportation, so that both escaped from some indecisive and jealous women. Urahara could. Rangaku was saying before noticing how the captain and her future husband were no longer there. Where did they go? The 3 thought at the same time because they did not know where both went. In another place. Hello, Chad. Look, I leave Urahara with you while I resolve some matters with the girls. I will pick him up later. Thanks and goodbye. Goku said this to his brown-haired student, who beneath his expressionless face, was shocked that his teachers appeared out of nowhere in his house. Once the son left, there was an awkward silence between the ex-captain and the young student, until Urahara thought of something to break the tension. Well, do you know how to play dominoes? Urahara said this while smilingly pointing at a box with the game, while Chad only had a sweat drop for the childish behavior of the man. End of flashback. I still cannot believe everything that happened in just 1 year. Thanks Shenlong for sending us here, and not to a world of adolescent demons. Goku thought to himself, laughing at such a ridiculous thought. Author note. I have nothing against DBZ and DxD Fix, because there are some very good ones, but you must admit that it is a very overexploited crossover both here and on YouTube. At that moment his fiancés began to wake up lightly, with Yuruchi being the first to speak, who looked at him with a seductive gaze. Hello love, did you sleep well? The Catwoman asked this, clinging more to the sun. Yes, I slept well. It is just that I am still thinking about what will happen. Goku said this, looking at Rangaku with worry while she woke up and heard that last part. Do not worry honey, I will only be away 1 week until you go give those ignorants a beating. In addition, I am no longer easy to defeat. The lieutenant said this securely while she approached to give the Saiyan a sweet kiss on the lips. In addition, we have everything planned. Even if we must defeat each and every one of the captains, we are ready. Harem said this as she also woke up. Hee. I know girls, but I do not want you to get hurt. The son said this, blushing a little. You relax. Everything will turn out well. Yuruchi said this, now being her who kissed him. I think it is time to go to work. A long day awaits us. Harem said this, giving her fiancé a kiss on the lips to get up. Yes, let us go. Goku said this, getting up and preparing for his day. With Gohan, the young son was sleeping placidly, while a small lump was seen in his bed. Upon looking more closely, it was Rukia, who hugged her boyfriend in bed like a stuffed toy while wearing pajamas shorter than the original, but of the same yellow color with black stripes. She enjoyed the contact with her partner, because she knew that it was only a matter of time for her rival friends to move in with the sons to have him close. Another thing that she had in her head was the premonition that things would not turn out as they planned, and that something truly bad would happen. No matter what happens, they will always rise to protect us. I know that they will always save us when we cannot win on our own. Rukia thought this while caressing the head of her partner. Gohan, Rukia, wake up. We have to go to the academy. Yuruchi said this as if she were a mother. Alright, I am getting up already. The son said this, waking up little by little, with Rukia a little angry, because she wanted to keep clinging to her boyfriend. And wake your sisters up too. Rangaku said this, joining the conversation. I will do it. Wake up lazy ones. There is still a day of academy. Rukia yelled this, giving a strong hit to the wall to wake up the Arankars, who with the exception of Sung's son were annoyed. With the passing of that year, the follower girls of Harem found in Goku a sort of father figure that complemented the teachings of the blonde as if they were his daughters. Not only that, In Gohan they saw the figure of an older brother who took care of them, and who was someone different from them. And with the marriage of the Vosto Lord, they reinforced that bond of younger sisters with older brother. Brat, if you were not the girlfriend of Gohan I would be hitting you until I get tired. Apache said this being interrupted from a beautiful dream. I agree. Mila Rose said this finishing waking up and preparing for the academy while Sung's son ignored them. Another thing that happened was that by advice of Urahara the Arainkars to go more unnoticed should lead more normal lives. Therefore when he finished perfecting the jigaes, each one took a role. Harabel would take a job which was swimming and training sharks in an aquarium, and some felt pity for the sharks, because the blonde was so intimidating that these aquatic beings always retreated before her, as if they were in front of an orca or an extinct giant shark. While Sung's son and Mila Rose and Apache decided to go to the academy to be close to their older brother, and in passing save him from the scarce but lethal attacks of jealousy of his girlfriends. They on more than one occasion thought that it would be worse if they had to face 5 girls instead of 3. After the big family reunited and had breakfast they went to their respective labors while Yoruichi finished preparing everything for the start of phase 1 of the plan, prison rescue. The first step was to wait 1 week so that the Shinigamists think that the Saiyans forgot about the accused to later attack. In total we will have 10 days to get Rukia out if they execute her, and although for unknown reasons they speed that up this will not take us more than 2 days. After that only planning my wedding remains. The Catwoman thought this changing her serious face to a cheerful one upon thinking about the last part, while she watched the city in search of something strange. The day passed with relative normality, except for the strange energy spikes that were felt, although they had no importance for the Suns, or the Shinigamists. After classes Rukia and Rangaku had a date with their respective partner as a farewell, until they would see each other again within a week. Both had much fun, and although they were sad about having to go they knew that they would see them again when they came for them. However the lieutenant had a separate plan that did not harm the other to get ahead with her friends, while Rukia knew that if everything turned out well being in prison would not be so bad and boring. After dinner and once everyone with the exception of the Shinigamists went to sleep these left the House of the Suns toward a plaza where they were about to open the door of the Soul Society until someone spoke to them from behind. Lieutenant Matsumoto, I was informed that you neglected my sister during her training, and that as a consequence you gave your powers to a human. A masculine voice very familiar to Rukia said this. Rangaku, you were always the most careless and unconcerned, but this time you really committed a very grave error. Another voice familiar to the little Shinigami said this. Upon turning around the two found themselves with 2 men. One had the standard clothes of a Shinigami along with his lieutenant badge. This one possessed strange marks on his face accompanied by tied red hair. This was Lieutenant Renji Abere, childhood friend of Rukia, and lieutenant of her brother. The other guy had long black hair along with a serious gaze that showed almost no emotions. This one wore a white scarf, and above his uniform had the white tunic that indicated that he was a captain of the Soul Society. This was none other than Byakuya Kuchiki, the brother of Rukia. Well, it is a long and very complicated story. The lieutenant said this scratching the back of her neck like her fiancé, which surprised the newcomers who expected a reaction of terror. It better be good, because your irresponsibility can cost Rukia her life, and your title. An annoyed Renji said this. Do not worry Abere, in less than 10 days we too will be fine living a beautiful life with very special people. The lieutenant said this in a dreamy and unconcerned manner, making the Shinigamists angrier. Enough of nonsense. Let us go. An angry Renji said this because the attitude of the orange-haired girl was beginning to irritate him very much. I agree. Let us move. Byakuya said this, opening the doors to the Suriti, disappearing without being seen by anyone except for a boy with black hair and glasses who saw everything and was not informed of the plan. I must inform Goku-sensei and Gohan. They are in danger. The Quincy thought this, leaving the place to inform the Suns as soon as possible about the situation of the girls, who were not worried at all and only thought one thing. Everything is going as we planned. Both thought this, preparing themselves for their trial.